Okay, so what are some different types of desert landforms? So you could have landforms that are caused by erosion. And so the top picture there is of a ventifact, and you'll notice that on one side of it, it has a facet. So it's been carved by the impact of sand hitting that thing. And so one thing that geologists can learn by finding these things out in the desert is what is the direction of the prevailing wind. The thing underneath it is called a yardang, and in this case what has happened is the wind is blowing in this direction, and then it is carving these canyon type things as a result of it. And so again, geologists can, based on these geological structures, they can figure out the direction that the wind is coming from. Okay, another thing is going to be called deflation. And so what this is here is the surface of the earth, and then you've got a bush. Okay, but then as the wind is blowing across it, it starts to erode all of this sand and soil, and the only thing that's left is this part right here, because it has the roots. So this bush has roots, it's holding the soil in place. So you'll notice that in that picture you've got a clump of bush on top of, it looks like a pedestal, and now here is the new surface of the ground. So that's going to be called deflation. A lag deposit is what's happening when all of the sand is being removed and all that's left is going to be pebbles of different kinds of sizes. Okay, another one is called a blowout. And so this is also kind of related to an airplane wing. So as air flows over an airplane wing, it causes lift and it causes the airplane wing to rise. So as air flows across the surface of a desert, it can also produce lift that is going to pull sand and dust into the air. And so what this can do is it can carve out shallow depressions in the ground, which we're going to call a blowout. All right, what about depositional structures? So this is going to be, one example of this is a talus slope. And so in the case, you have like a cliff like this, and then as material is eroded from the cliff, it's going to fall down and it's going to make a debris slope like this, and so that's a talus slope. Okay, another one is called an alluvial fan. And so when we talked about rivers, we said that a river makes a delta when it starts to slow down. So as a river empties into an ocean, its flow rate or its velocity decreases. And so that means that the river can't hold as much material in suspension, and so it just drops its load. And so that's how you make a delta. Well, the same thing can happen out in a desert where you've got a river in a mountainous region where it's flowing very fast, and then it empties into this desert region where immediately its velocity decreases. So the velocity of the river decreases, it's going to drop its load, and so we're going to call this an alluvial fan. So an alluvial fan is to a continent what a delta is to an ocean. You could also have areas where the water evaporates, and so this leaves behind what's referred to as a playa. And so the rivers come out of the mountainous region, then they flow onto the continent, and then due to evaporation all of that water goes away and you're left with the dry lake beds. Now during a flash flood, these lake beds fill back up with water, but then evaporation occurs and eventually it's dry again. So that's going to be called a playa. Okay, what are some different types of desert landscapes? So we will come back in just a moment and talk about this.